Hey, I'm Lisa Singer, the Senior Editorial Director of Brand Insider at MediaPost, and thanks for joining us for another installment of MediaPost's webinar series. MediaPost webinars bring together the media, marketing, and advertising community to learn more about the methods and technologies that really make business possible across a variety of categories. And it's all brought to you by some of the leading solution providers, marketers, and practitioners in our industry. Now, as local advertising grows more fragmented and complex, the need for smarter, more connected data solutions has never been greater. And today, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to hear from Locality on how data innovation is reshaping local advertising. And we'll also learn how technologies like ACR are providing new possibilities for local advertisers. But before I introduce our guest speaker, I just want to let you know that after the presentation, we've set aside some time for some questions and answers from you. So if you have a question, just add it to the question box on your screen, and we'll do our best to get to it at the end. So with that, let me introduce Steve Silvestri. He is the Head of Data Strategy and Innovation at Locality. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to have you. And I know you're going to have Q&A at the end, but I get to have a Q&A with you too. But before all that, you're going to kick us off with a presentation. So with that, I'll let you take it away.
Looking forward to it. Thanks. So before we get into the webinar, I do want to offer a brief introduction about who we are at Locality. In a nutshell, we simplify video planning and buying, spanning all U.S. markets, enabling advertisers to reach the right audience in the right place at the right time. What sets us apart is our combination of scale, premium inventory, and deep local expertise across both streaming and broadcast. And we do this all delivered through one point of contact. In today's session, we're going to explore unique challenges advertisers face when it comes to adopting and employing data-led media strategies across local. We'll also do some mild exploration on how technological innovation and the emergence of next-generation data solutions have arrived in order to help solve these challenges. And while today's presentation will emphasize CTV, streaming video, a lot of the technological innovation we discussed today is helping bridge the divide between traditional linear broadcast and connected television. And lastly, as Lisa said, when we close, we'll leave time for audience Q&A. So in the next few slides, we're going to dive into the friction points facing today's local advertisers. Most of what our local intelligence tells us today is that local advertisers are more often than not feeling stuck. There's been tremendous growth in ad tech and data adoption on both the buy and sell side, but the majority of these solutions have not made a significant impact in local. Determining how much to spend, where to invest, who to reach. These are some of the most important and often the most challenging questions marketers face when it comes to local advertising. Local buyers are navigating a maze of disconnected tools, data sets, publishers, a swirl of vendors and platforms. It's hard to discern and navigate the complexities of plugging into the local market and getting the desired local impressions. Data as a tool for audience planning, targeting, and attribution. It's often locked with a particular vendor or service, or it's tied to a very particular point solution. So it doesn't allow for a lot of flexibility and often falls short on connecting all of these dots. And with so much data available flooding the market, advertisers are increasingly under pressure to demonstrate a return on their investment. However, they're not necessarily equipped or afforded the time to evaluate the right data partners and solutions to implement those measures effectively. So because of this, there are blind spots. Clients and agencies are often defaulting to media execution using tools and data that are frankly outdated. And it's not a lack of intent that's holding them back. I think planning, activation, and measurement often still lives in silos. Disconnected workflows make it hard to move at the pace of modern campaign demands. Unifying the data signals for advanced planning, activation, and measurement is challenging. Campaign insights derived from one vendor solution to the next is often opaque, restricted to a few use cases, and sometimes limited from cross-partner collaboration with other data sets. So this can make it very challenging to grade campaign effectiveness and leads to directional audience planning and activation at best. So to succeed, advertisers need systems that are connected and built to meet the demands of the local marketers' efforts. So what does our expertise glean from local advertisers? They want visibility into what's working, where, and why, not just the directional data. They want agility, the ability to adapt and reallocate quickly if something's off. Waiting till the campaign ends isn't good enough anymore. They also want accountability, a way to tie back every dollar they spend in local to real outcomes and defend that investment with confidence. And they often require executional preference, whether it be through direct insertion order or programmatic channels. They need to be able to choose the best path of activation that best suits their needs. So that's what this next section is going to be about. It's rethinking data's role in local advertising and how the next generation of data solutions has begun to power smarter, more connected campaigns. This is what we believe will shape the future demand of the market. Consumer adoption, growth in streaming has opened the door wide open to an entirely new reality for advertisers. It's enabling effective reach, powered by dynamic ad insertion and addressable enabled inventory. It's unlocked the value of ACR viewership data. It offers real-time data signals at scale and a lens into how audiences are accessing content. Data clean rooms, they're enabling multi-vendor data collaborations, inclusive of data that, as I suggested before, was once protected behind restrictive firewalls. Next generation data solutions. They offer new artificial intelligence applications like machine learning that can process data more efficiently, faster, and with more accuracy. It allows for sophisticated data exploration and the development of better and more predictive audience strategies. In summary, when you align the new world of the next generation data solutions with media decisioning, you're going to unlock opportunity that redefines boundaries. Local advertisers who have maybe been once limited by scale or technological availability, they now have the opportunity to plan, activate, and optimize in a far more connected and intelligent way. Advanced data is no longer used as just a planning variable or a post-campaign scorecard. The right data can fuel every stage of the campaign lifecycle, informing planning, activation, measurement, while also enabling real-time optimization along the way. Let's break that down. So planning starts with clear inputs. The choreography of data is critically important, especially now that local video is actually a fully measurable medium. The services of next-gen tools, inclusive of this artificial intelligence and machine learning, as well as the cloud-based data sharing, data clean rooms, this is allowing advertisers to connect a vast amount of data signals across every stage of the media journey. It unlocks the power of expedient and accurate audience exploration. By identifying the right KPIs, data signals, and planning, we can define smarter audience strategies tied to the desired campaign outcomes. When all the right ingredients are available, we can evaluate complex audience correlations across client targets, viewership exposure, performance, and local intelligence. So instead of activating and testing against a static third-party or first-party data set, clients can activate against a custom and dynamic audience derived from key insights that are surfaced throughout the campaign and leverage multiple variables. Additionally, this framework and the associated machine learning applications and AI, it allows for audiences to be evaluated with speed and accuracy. It leverages post-campaign performance results. New local audience intelligence can be surfaced. It can be used to generate the next relevant audience. And that next relevant audience can be activated in the right places at the right time and maximize results for the marketer. Data integrity is incredibly important, and it continues to be a leading topic when it comes to consumer protection and privacy compliance. Privacy can't be an afterthought, and it is something that we as an industry must continue to align on when it comes to driving consistent standards and policy. Every data stakeholder needs to be protected, and compliance is critical. When stakeholders are aligned and a responsible data infrastructure is in place, the doors to this innovation is wide open. So I ran through a lot. We spoke about next generation data solutions, automation, weaving together data signals and insights to fuel this iterative journey of marketing intelligence and reactivation in local. And before I flip it back to Lisa for QA, I wanted to briefly mention what we're doing here at Locality. So this quarter, we took a first and major step towards supporting the future we discussed with the launch of our new platform, LocalX. It's built to simplify how local campaigns are planned, bought, and optimized. It unifies planning and execution, making better use of signals like ACR and leveraging AI, and creating systems that flex to local needs, all while maintaining one of our important differentiating assets here, audience scale. And it's just the beginning, but we are proud of our leadership position in the market and bringing these tools and assets to the local marketplace so advertisers can take full advantage of our solutions. So thank you. And with that, I'm going to invite Lisa back and we can dive into some Q&A, the Q&A portion of our webinar. And as a reminder, please use the chat to submit your questions and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can today.
Well, first off, Steve, that was great. Very succinct, but you got it all up there. So really appreciate that. And it leaves just more time for me to ask you my question. So I appreciate that.
Couldn't wait for this part.
Yes, this is the best. So, well, you mentioned that there are high expectations from marketers, but a lot are still settling for the status quo. What do you think is the biggest barrier in sort of getting them to sort of take that step?
Yeah, I think clients feel overwhelmed, like many of us do. There's so much swirl and noise in the market right now, and I think with every press release, every announcement, it can feel like you're behind or you've missed the train. It's true, the market is evolving fast, and I think new solutions are coming to market, but I don't think there's a silver bullet or a train that's going to pass them by, right? I think for many clients, it's not the choice, it's about capacity. They don't always have the time or resources to evaluate and test every new solution that comes their way after every meeting that they have, right? It's super important for agencies and clients to remain informed because I think there is a strategic approach to stepping into this new world for sure.
Well, and I think that, well, one, let's just talk about in terms of local advertisers, and really they face a unique data challenge. Or you tell me, is it unique from what national advertisers are dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, especially from an audience perspective. Local has nuanced data needs, I think more so than that of national marketers. I think local teams have fewer resources to tackle the increasing complexity. Most of the tools out there were built for national applications, and they don't flex easily to these local nuances. Frankly, I don't think they were designed with local in mind. Local advertisers need solutions that are a bit more modular, but purpose-built for local, not necessarily something that's retrofitted for national.
Yep. And so you talked about, marketers feel overwhelmed, especially local advertisers, but you need to take that step. You need to trust AI. Well, yeah. First, take that step back, which I think we're hearing from everyone. Is AI going to replace the marketer? And that's a concern.
I think AI is going to be an incredible tool, but it's just that, a tool. It's not going to replace the marketer. Its use cases in the realm of today's discussion, or how I'm referencing it, is in no way replacing the emotional intelligence or intuition of a marketer. I think the applications are more about automated programs and processes and machine learning applications that can tackle heavy lifting of exploring structured data, identifying patterns that are actually instructed and set up or queried and informed by humans asking the machine, right? So no, it's going to amplify the work a marketer does and allow for more focus on creativity, strategy, and storytelling, et cetera, versus some of the more computational number crunching to derive these insights for planning and activation, I think.
Right, add the human touch to it, so to speak. Well, in terms of then when you are trusting AI, is AI producing better results?
So I think we're just in the beginning stages here, but I think AI is only as good as the data it has access to. And they talk about like a chat GPT that hits the end of the internet at some point, and it's only as good as the information that it can source. But in this realm, I think it's important. It depends on how much data do you want to crunch? So to establish and source the right data signals is the first step, and get that into the machine readable formats required for artificial intelligence to do its work. And I think that engineering of all those data sets in the right formats, I think that's the heavy lift. Just as an example, if I structure a vast amount of historical data signals in our intelligence that we have here at Locality from campaigns going back a year, viewership, performance, foot traffic, web conversion, search, audience structures, attributes, local intelligence, along with real-time impression data. Artificial intelligence can reveal and showcase outcomes and scenarios that may have previously gone unexplored by humans, because we can't go that deep and we can't do it that fast and we don't have the time. So it gets really exciting to see what can be revealed with the machine that wasn't already revealed by humans. So it's definitely an art and science, but the science part is pretty incredible at this point. I think we're seeing that now everywhere with all industries.
Well, you can certainly see how excited you are about that part of it. And but again, another concern that we're hearing a lot about is privacy issues, not only from industries but consumers as well. So how do you build a system that honors both privacy and performance, especially in say, a collaborative environment like clean rooms?
Well, I think first and foremost today, you remove any processes that risk revealing personal identity. I think that's why clean rooms have been such a boom for the media data industry, or even hash personal non-identifiable matches. Those are the safest signals to exchange. But I think it's critical when you set up any data relationship today, you're aligned on data governance. You're making sure the integrity of the data is maintained, and the chain of custody of where that data goes is following best and most current practices. You have opt-out controls in place. Who's responsible for those opt-out controls? You have policy. The policy-based access is always in place, and how it's being used is always monitored, if you will. So wherever the data is being sourced. So I think that sounds like it's strict data governance and you can't do anything with data. I disagree. I think that means that doesn't mean you lose the data, the intelligence of the data, particularly in local too, where we have the ability to do a lot of things from a very granular one-to-one perspective, but we also have the power to roll that into zip codes or very granular aggregate geo signals that inherently respect this notion of personally identifiable information. So there's still a lot you can do with strict data governance. And I think people feel very safe about leveraging clean rooms to do just that, which has opened the door to a lot of these use cases.
No, for sure. And I'm sure you ease a lot of people's minds with that information, because it is something we hear a lot of. But so what are marketers overlooking? I mean, are there any signals or data types that you think will become more important in the coming year?
I think that, like, when I look at where we sit today and the scale of audiences that we have on a local basis, little plug there, but what's happened is viewership, as people have migrated more towards connected TV, we're seeing an awful lot of impressions that are available to us on a geo basis. And so when I think about what we can do with I talked about static first and third party data targeting, which is kind of table stakes. But when I think about adding the intelligence layers like triggers from search intent, performance, ACR viewership data, which is very scaled at this point and a very great immediate source of very strong viewership data at a hyper local level, I think the possibilities of full funnel marketing becomes very real and local very soon. From brand awareness to intent down to performance, it's kind of choose your own adventure. How do you want this thing to look, and what do you want the machine to start to reveal? We kind of talked about it at the end there, is kind of the full completing the cycle from planning to execution to reinformed, more intelligent optimization.
Yeah.
And it's all really custom, right? Every client has their own need. So they're going to have their own specificity about how they want to take data signals and create the opportunity for themselves.
Yeah. Well, and now when you talk about teams thinking about really evaluating new data tools or platforms, what is, I mean, you talked a little about it and how you're building it, but what is your framework in deciding what is actually worth adopting?
Well, we have to go through this on the sell side as well. Um, if you're referring to buy side, so it's like, well, I think in today's world, one, the opportunity is very ripe for this next gen data solution to lean in. I think we're seeing a lot of the technology come to life. But I think you go back to the challenges we talked about today. Are these tools solving for any of the pain points you have in local? Are they making your processes faster? Are they helping you unify planning, buying, measurement? Are they helping you become smarter, more efficient? I don't think one size fits all. But if a solution is helping you address, uh, one or two of those things and makes your life easier, I think it's probably worth considering. You just have to weigh the, how much that challenge is holding you back. So starting small, right? And taking baby steps, but definitely lean in.
Yep, no, it makes sense. And I do have one more question, but I want to remind everyone, if you do have a question for Steve, just make sure you add it to the question box if you hadn't had a chance yet, and we'll do our best at the end to answer all of them. So just Steve, in the sense of just what's the next big innovations that you really expect to see in local media buying in the next, 12 to 18 months?
I do think we're going to see this greater adoption of data collaboration, the data clean rooms. I think that's carrying momentum from hype to reality. I think it's driven by the comfort and kind of where it is in the maturity cycle of being introduced in market. They've proven themselves the clean room has proven itself as a very viable way to unlock data in ways that was certainly locked previously. Um, Also the policies and the privacy compliance. I think we're going to see more artificial intelligent applications come to life. It's kind of like we saw kind of clean rooms. I think you're going to see some use cases emerge. You're already hearing it out in market, but from our perspective, I think we're going to see continued adoption of automated buying. I think programmatic media activation is something that's continues to make marketers' lives very simple, and it helps them move quicker. So I think you're going to definitely continue to see growth there, like we did last year.
What are you most excited about?
Well, you said it before, the artificial intelligent applications. I
I knew
think,
you were going to go there.
yeah, I think the ability for it's I feel like it's going to unlock so much more opportunity in the market, and it's going to create so many great ideas that we haven't even thought of today. And I just love that. I think like there's a blank canvas out there, and I think next gen data tools and solutions, it's gonna unlock a whole bunch of new opportunities, and that's pretty exciting. And value, opportunity equals value on all sides of the equation. So that's pretty exciting.
That's great. Well, of course, we want to open it up to questions from the audience. For this, I need my glasses and let everyone know what they're asking. Well, I have to say this before a question. We have from Andrew, Steve, you look good. So
Oh, thank you, Andrew. I like that. That's not two
we
questions. I
can
like
just end
that.
it right there, okay? That's done. All right, so I have from Suzanne, with all the industry focus on cookie deprecation, how does that impact CTV and local advertisers?
So cookies actually really aren't an issue when it comes to CTV. CTV operates in the premium video environment. It's not tied to web-based behavioral targeting. It relies on IP signals and device data. So today, that's all handled in a very privacy compliant way when you're talking about IP and device data. We're not in the business of tracking behaviors and creating targeting variables on top of any sort of that behavioral. I think that's a legacy web-based issue as it relates to kind of targeting on the traditional web, I'll call it, versus what we're talking about here, which is CTV.
Okay, so now this one's from Mike. How can local advertisers balance using data for smarter decision making while keeping their creative relevant and connected to the community?
So actually, you can use data insights to tailor creative. They do this all the time. I think for local, creative A and B testing. You might be targeting the same audiences in Dallas and Tulsa, but not all markets are alike or receptive to the same messaging. I don't know why it's in Dallas and Tulsa, but every market is different. Leverage the local intelligence of your partners, those with deep roots and historical data knowledge of local media. Use next-gen tools like AI to manage extracting insights from the differences in creative of A and B to inform what are the results of those A/B tests. But data is the secret there. There's a lot of ways to skin that to do creative testing. It's done all the time, and I think it's a powerful tool in local, based on what I said on that not every market's alike, but certainly even the nuance in messaging can move the needle, but you won't know that until you change the creative a little bit. But the data will tell you that.
Got it. Okay, this one's from William. How are you seeing brands balance brand building objective with performance when activating local campaigns?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it before. So you can do either. I think age and gender and broad-based buying and the scale at which we represent is still an effective play, particularly when you're leveraging viewership data, right? Mass reach is available in our markets if that's what you're shooting for. A lot of times clients, though, do want to leverage the capabilities of dynamic ad insertion and addressability, but you can broaden the target as great as you want. You can fill the marketing funnel. I think that what are your KPIs, and we can deliver them, right? I think from a performance metric standpoint, there are things out there that were available in traditional television, like surveys, that are now available on digital, which is kind of a performance metric to see purchase intent a little higher up in the funnel. And then there's also bottom of the funnel performance metrics that you can layer in. You can kind of do it all. But the majority of CTV today, I think we're seeing the power of moving beyond age and gender targeting and moving to more of like planning targets and more sophisticated way of delivering performance. And I think performance often gets confused with that bottom of the funnel. I just need to drive ROI, or I just need to push sales. That's not always the case. Sometimes it is about enhancing frequency, enhancing reach, creating better awareness. It all depends on the KPIs. So that's why the data set of viewership is so important. You can start to derive television reach with CTV reach and fill in the gaps if brand building is what you're after, and you can measure that.
Great. Okay, now we have from Evelyn. How do you see the role of publishers evolving when it comes to data collaboration and transparency?
I mentioned data clean rooms. I think the big publishers, the premium pubs, have leaned in. They've definitely embraced the notion of clean rooms. They're the ones with very valuable data. And I think you'll actually see more data collaboration from premium publishers, particularly because not just they've leaned into clean rooms and it's been a proven safe haven, but I think they're recognizing that they're sitting on a valuable data stream, and it's an asset that they can use in supporting their core business. So with the right partners and for the right business rules and in the right safe havens, data clean rooms, I think you'll see more data collaboration and a bit more transparency there, depending on the use cases.
Well, and this one is actually from Emily, and you talked about this a little bit. As data becomes more sophisticated in streaming, what needs to happen next to bring insight and actionability to broadcast?
Great question. So I think with the ACR data, I think we're already bridging some of that gap. The smart TV data, we're bringing that into the planning and viewership metrics that I discussed before. You know, I think the signals we can get from linear on a local basis are still very powerful in the sense that we still can leverage the raw linear ad logs to develop timestamps, date. We can associate it with geography, and we can layer in performance, and we can also layer in the power of the one-to-one CTV to start to garner very powerful insights about how much linear did someone buy in this particular zip code, how much CTV did they layer, what was the resulting performance, and we can start to make really strong correlations about what's happening in the local. The other big thing is there's the big data vendors out there that are purveyors of a whole bunch of data that have taken the initiative to try and develop cross-platform solutions for national, but they're still focused on national. So I think right around the corner, we are staring down the potential for a solve on cross-platform media solutions, leveraging advanced targeting, which we're talking about today, and they'll start to lean into solving for local.
Got it. Okay, and we have time for just one more question, and this is from Robert. Are there certain industries or verticals that are leading the way when it comes to using data smarter in local campaigns?
I think, yes. So I would say auto, retail, QSR. I'm mentioning things with physical locations, but also healthcare. I think they're ahead. I think they've really leaned into like local data and measurement, and I think these sectors lend themselves well to ownership of first-party data or a clear, defined audience segment. And they can also align that with the physical store location or some of the performance elements that are available to them or readily available to them today. So I think we're seeing a lot of them lean in. But I mentioned at the top, things like search signals. I think there's so many other signals that are going to open targeting in the scale of local to other categories. So I'm really excited about how other verticals are going to start to lean into these concepts, including the ones I just mentioned.
Great. Well, Steve, this was amazing. This was such great information. So thank you so much for being here and being a part of this.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
And thank you for watching. And if you have any other questions for Steve or Locality and want to find out more about them, be sure to use the QR code you see on your screen right now, and that will help you to connect with them to answer all your questions. So thank you so much for watching, and thanks for the next time you can be with us. Until then.